what time is it? 10:01. So we'll get started. Call the Technical Review Committee meeting to order. And we don't usually broadcast these TRC meetings. Basically, staff and the applicant, technical review, but we are, now that it's a virtual platform, so we are recording and broadcasting it also to, the minute taker can take the minutes after and view the recording. So we are here, one item on the agenda, and that's the Primrose School. And I think how I'll set it up is to have the applicant, just give us a brief overview of the things you want to know about the plan. Then we'll turn it back to staff. And I know Zoom can be, difficult, but I think just the goal would be to go around the staff and highlight your major comments. We don't, if we get into fine detail, I guess that's okay, but just make sure we get our main points across. As far as timing, probably, I just want to let you know that the planning board has started meeting again. I believe there's 10 applications pending in front of the planning board, and they had suspended meetings for a little bit. Then they tried starting up and got Zoom bombed, or the select board got Zoom. They had to cancel that meeting, but they're back up and running. They had their first meeting on the 28th, and they're having a meeting tonight on a different project. So there's quite a few projects ahead. We're going to try to move as quickly as possible on this, but we have time to, to make sure TRC completes the review and, hopefully just doesn't have any more issues when we get it to planning board. Sometimes that's still outstanding, but in this environment, it's going to be a while till we can get it on a planning board agenda. So I'll turn it over to the applicant to provide us a brief overview of the project.
Before we do that, can we introduce everybody? Because I don't recognize a few folks.
Sure. I'm sorry. That's, I'm kind of off here in a virtual meeting. We do. So I'm Dave Sharples. It says it in my little thing there at the bottom. I'm Dave, town planner. I'll go to Jennifer.
Jen Mates. I'm the assistant town engineer.
Jordan.
Hey, I'm Jordan Brock. I'm with Underwood Engineers.
We don't need the hosts. Aaron?
I'm Aaron Becker with Casco. We are the architect and MEP structural engineers for this project.
Jonathan?
Jonathan Ring, Jones and Beach Engineers and Stratum, site plan.
Mike Garapi?
Yeah, Mike Garapi representing the owner of the property.
Matt? I guess Matt.
Yeah, Matt Taylor. I oversee the entitlement permitting and building side for Primrose.
Allison? You got to unmute yourself.
There we go. How's that?
Good.
All right. Allison Rees with Underwood Engineers. We're doing third-party design review.
Okay. Jason?
Jason Greene, Exeter Fire Prevention.
And Kristen?
Kristen Murphy, Natural Resource Planner for the town.
And I think that's everyone. Is that everyone that's part of this meeting that's not a host or IT?
No, this is Bob Rossman, Senior Director, Site Acquisitions, Brentwood, New Hampshire.
Oh, thank you, Bob. I missed, yep. The participant list, any time, just keeps reshuffling on me. So thank you. So I'll pass it off to whoever is it you
Daniel
wants to.
Daniel Graham.
He's with, I believe he's with
the TV.
Exeter TV.
Okay, sorry.
And so yeah, they're just recording.
John, are you going to lead off, John, for us?
Yes, absolutely. Great. So, John Ring, and the site plan, you have before you some 16 site plan sheets. This is on Epping Road. It's adjacent to the Aroma Joe's. We have a site plan that was approved on this property back in 2016 for something like 30,000 square feet of office space in 2 buildings. And what we're proposing now is a 13,000 square foot day school. It's a Primrose school site plan with 13,000 square feet, as I say, and something like 95 kids thereabouts. and maybe 30 staff thereabouts, and we have some 61 parking spaces. It's a single level building. There's playground out back for to meet the state requirements for square footage and all that kind of stuff. The road, McKay Drive, as you know, is already constructed. Aroma Joe's is built. 2 big apartment buildings are out back. We've done all the highway improvements associated with the site plan in 2016. And this site has been leveled off a little bit, but it needs to be just fine-tuned, graded with the elevation 73 that we're proposing for the structure. We have porous pavement to deal with the stormwater. Jeff Highland at Ironwood has done some landscape plans. He's sent me a revision to that, which I will forward to you all with the next submission. We have a dumpster in the back. It's fire sprinkled, protected. There's a grease trap that Aaron Becker and those folks have placed on the site so that can take care of the kitchen use and whatever. So I think that's basically, we are modifying. We have state permits already for the alteration of terrain and for the sewer discharge. We have less sewer discharge on the property now because we've gone from that 30,000 square foot office to this 13,000 day school. So there's much less sewer flow, but the sewer line is already constructed in McKay, and it's going to flow next to Aroma Joe's out to Epping Road the same way it did. So we have sewer connections and gas utilities connected from McKay Drive into the site. There will be a monument sign placed out front. There's already a monument sign for the residences at Colcord Pond, the big apartment buildings out back, and there'll be a second monument sign out front on this piece. So basically, I think that's it. I don't know, anybody can add before you jump off to your technical review people. Aaron, do you have anything you want to say about it? Or
I can go into some of the architectural building design if they want to get to that now, or if they want to wait until we're further along, up to you guys at the city.
Yeah, I mean, unless anyone wants to hear it, I've reviewed the architectural details. I feel it, it meets our architectural standards. Sloped roof, got if anyone has any questions on it, go ahead. I don't need a presentation on it.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions on staff on the architecturals? No, I think it's, looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it looks nice.
Yeah. All right. So, Jen, do you want to go, you like the page by page. Do you want to go page by page?
Well, not on Zoom.
All right. I wanted to clarify that because I know
Thank you
and Allison both like to do that. Okay. So we'll just, pass it off to Jen. Nates, do you have any comments, questions?
Yeah, just a few. The parking count and the total number of students didn't match. I think the parking study said 194, and then for the sewer it said 200. So just coordinate with that, if you could clarify how many there will be. And the other thing is the traffic. If the traffic study could be updated with the traffic counts, since it's a much different use than office, that would be helpful. I saw that the memo from Pernaw was just about parking. And related to the traffic, if they could address the on-site circulation as far as the left turn movement coming out of the site from the first driveway that's proposed across from Aroma Joe's. The Aroma Joe's driveway is already really tough for folks to make a right turn out of without crossing into the opposite lane. So I think they're during morning pickup when everyone's getting coffee and dropping off kids. There's going to be some left turn conflict movements, and I just want to make sure that doesn't back up out onto Epping Road. So I don't know if making a one-way in for that and then it's two-way at the other driveway would work, or whatever the traffic engineer recommends, but I just see a lot of conflicts happening there in the morning when everyone isn't caffeinated yet.
We can look at that, Jen.
Yeah, no, I'll echo that point. It saves me from, that was my same comment as well. I thought a right in there wouldn't, right in only in the first impede the traffic flow at all, but I'll leave that up to the traffic engineers to come back with a response. I think that works well to keep that, exiting onto McKay Drive as far away from that intersection as possible and not conflicting with the Roma Joes.
And it might help with the drop-off pattern so that parents aren't trying to cross each other getting out of that driveway.
We'll take a look at that, Jen, for sure.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And the other thing I noticed is the Cape Cod berm curb. Was there a waiver for that granted in the first application?
For McKay Drive, yes, for McKay Drive there was. Yep.
Okay, great. I don't know, maybe I didn't see it referenced in the application, but I could have missed it. If you could just point that out so that it's not an issue during the planning board meeting.
Okay, we can, because we're moving the driveways just a little bit, and if you want me to, I can add that to the waiver request letter. I did not put it in because we already had it, so I will.
Yeah, just to remind everyone that you already have it and don't need to ask for it again.
Okay.
And just so we're clear on that point, the plans, I see a begin Cape Cod berm, but I don't see an end. And then there is detail for sloped and vertical granite curbing in the detail. So, and there's a solid line coming in from Epping Road to the first access. Is that going to be granite curbing? I mean, I just want a sense, can you clearly, make sure we know on the plans where granite curbing starts and ends, and where Cape Cod berm starts and ends. And then I can whether what's needed, because if you got the waiver and it only goes to where it is in the previous plan, that's fine. I don't believe you need another waiver. And I appreciate the fact that you are connecting the sidewalk to the Epping Road sidewalk. That wasn't in the original plan for some reason. So I really appreciate that connection.
I think originally there wasn't a sidewalk proposed along Epping Road, Dave. That's why it wasn't connected. Yeah. That's what we're doing now. It's time now.
Is that all, Jen?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think that's pretty much it for discussion items. There's a few other little things that I can put in my comment letter, but they're not worth discussing right now.
All right. I'll just jump in on a couple things. The first thing that would be really helpful, because I acknowledge that there was a previously approved plan and don't want to be, very duplicative on what's already been done. But it was hard for me to discern, like trying to get this plan and the other plan next to it. And I think on that last revision, Mike, you had provided a red line of the grading, drainage, and, the grading and so forth of the roof plan. So just so we know what is actually changing, because I don't think, like, if you've gotten a conditional use permit, you're not going any further into the encroachment of the wetlands than you were before. And it's the same, we might not need that, to go through that. So that would be helpful for me to really drill down a little bit better on this plan.
Are you suggesting, Dave, like maybe just having the previous approval, a sheet that shows the previous approval?
Yeah, in red, make that a red line and just overlay it on one of the plans, just so I can make sense of what's been approved and the differences here. I mean, I'm trying to, but it's difficult without that overlay. And it seems like you have you have all that information. It's just a matter of turning that layer onto a plan and just seeing. That would help me a lot.
John, can you do that? Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. The drainage has the drainage changed? The drainage scheme? I see the porous pavement. I don't believe that was part of the prior one. So was that changed because our stormwater you need to meet the new stormwater requirements, or just talk about that for a minute, or whoever?
The short answer is that in 2016, we had porous pavement. We had a 30,000 square foot building, which was, I think, a 9,000 square foot footprint, and then a 3,600 square foot footprint. So the two footprints were something like 12,600. And we did have porous pavement. We had more parking spaces back in 2016. It was all porous. All the roof drainage went into the porous. And so the scheme has changed because the layout's changed. but it is still porous pavement, and the roof drains for the school are intended to fall into that stone reservoir underneath the parking areas.
So I assume then that would meet the removal efficiencies, current regs, I think 60% on phosphorus and nitrogen.
I assume so.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have to modify the AOT. So that's our next step is to take whatever comments Underwood gives us, coupled with Public Works, and put the AOT application together and send it into the state for the amendment to the AOT permit.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question. Was a revised AOT needed?
Yes.
Okay, and then also the biggest thing is like just to talk about Steve Pernaw's traffic, parking generation analysis. Kind of an alternative way in the site plan is to provide then what's required in zoning is to provide an alternative calculation based on Pernaw. He concludes that average is 39%. He adds 10% for a total of 43. You're proposing 61, which is 18 more than required. Can you rationalize or provide? The planning board always wants the rationale for providing more parking than your expert is requiring. So I'm wondering why do you feel you need 18 more parking spaces?
I think, Dave, the answer was that we were trying to comply as best as possible with the table requirements, knowing that we met the alternative parking analysis requirements. Maybe the answer is that we can show some of that area for parking that we have now as potential future parking and not build it, if that makes sense. We've done that before in the past. And just build the number of spaces that would be required under Steve's analysis.
Well, I wonder if Primrose has any, they have standards too, and there are up to 30 employees. So if you build 39 parking spaces, you have 9 for the parents to drop off. So there's also the Primrose requirement for what they want.
I can jump in here, Taylor.
I'm just going.
So, yeah, and Dave, that's a good point. I mean, we typically need on a site. So let's look at that as on the design team side. I thought we were trying to meet a zoning ordinance to get, like as Mike said, as close as we could. It's always been more parking than we needed. So I'm happy to reduce it if we can.
Well, yeah, the planning board always looks to that because you show you meet it. You have an expert that provided rationale. There's two different ways you can meet the parking demand, and you've chosen the way to have Steve Pernaw look at ITE and generate a number. And if you're comfortable with that, and you can show there's an 18 run of parking. I don't know if you just want to do, but you can certainly do that because the planning board, as long as it's on site, they're very amenable to not building parking that you don't need.
That's our way. Okay, perfect. And we'll look at that.
Can I just chime in on the parking? Just as a parent whose kid isn't all that far out of preschool, she's in 3rd grade now. So there's 30 employees. There's up to 200 kids in the school, and I'm just thinking it's probably good to have closer to 60 some than to 40 some, just because I've seen the chaos that can happen at pickup and drop off times. Parents running in and out all over the place. Plus, if there's special events like, my kids, one classroom is giving a concert for the parents or something like that. It might be better to have a little bit of cushion for some extra spots.
Yeah, I mean, those are all valid points. There's no question. But in our overall development scheme, we look for about 45 parking spaces in total for a building of this size. And over the 400 or so schools that we operate, we find that that's a really good number. But let's look at it. And I'm not hard set on any of it, but let's. I don't like to build stuff that is never going to be used, and 60 spaces will not be used in the school. So we'll take a look at it overall.
Yeah, and like I said, we've already designed for it, so we can potentially just look at, designing the drainage to accommodate future parking and just not build some of the spaces that we're showing. So we'll take a look.
And I just want to stop. Thanks not thanks. I want to welcome Doug Eastman. I see he's here. So,
Hey guys, ladies.
Thanks for
Welcome,
coming.
Doug.
Sorry I'm late, Dave.
Oh, no problem. So those are kind of my, major discussion points. Once I have that overlay, I'll be able to determine a little better on what exactly the process or what issues there are. Because like you have I saw a waiver for grading within 5 feet of a property line, but I don't know how that matches up to what you had before or where it encroaches or how far it goes. So that would be very helpful to get that overlay. With that, I'll pass off. Kristen, do you have anything to add here? Any comments?
I don't think anything that can't be provided. Just in a comment, I had asked about the landscaping plan. It sounds like Jeff's going to provide a revision so we can see what species we're talking about. And I didn't see any, there's not much of a buffer between the development and the pond from the former grading. So I don't know if there's a seeding plan for that. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see much treatment there. And then just a comment about the porous asphalt. I know that was a part of the previous proposal, but I do worry about long-term functionality of that given the use with additional sand and salt for winter treatment. So I really want to make sure maintenance protocols are in place. And I know through the PTAP program that's improved from what it had been, but just wanted to call attention to that. And then I'll have a comment just confirming that the lighting is dark sky compliant, and to use natural fibers for the geotextile fabric, because I know the company cited does have some plastic materials that photodegrade, but the preference is to stick with natural jute or coconut fiber or something along those lines. That's it.
Thank you. That's a great point, Kristen. We will ask for because I don't see it in your drainage and an O&M manual for it. Was that provided in the prior one, or just what if it was provided with us, because there's going to be an annual reporting requirement to the town that you've gained and done the proper inspections on the pavement and all the drainage. So who else do we have here? Allison?
Well, quite a few of the points I had were already touched upon, so it's a good thing we're going later on. So I'm not going to go over any of those small comments I have. I'll just leave those for the letter. Just some of the big, we haven't delved into the drainage study yet. So we haven't looked at that yet. Probably next week we'll get into that. I just started looking at porous pavement this morning. So far since I haven't finished reviewing all the porous pavement stuff, the only comment I have so far is that at test pit 1, the ESHWT, the water table, is higher than the final grade. So we need to look at that in terms of how the water table is going to interact with this porous pavement. It's pretty high water table there. I noted that we'll be looking for retaining wall details. There's a retaining wall noted on one side there, just in one section. But we'll be looking for materials, any drainage from the retaining wall, that type of thing. Let's see what else is on my list. Oh, fire trucks. You've got 20-foot and 15-foot radii on the entrances, and it's got good traffic flow with the two different entrances. I just think it should be run by the fire department just to make sure their trucks can go through there, since the radiuses are on the tight side there. I'd like to see the location of the signs for the porous pavement to tell the trucks no standing. You had referenced the signs I briefly saw on the detail sheets, but they aren't shown on the site plan where they'll be located. Let's see, you already talked about an O&M manual. I already talked about modifying the waivers, or the permits, I mean. I guess that's it for larger items from me.
Okay, thank you. Good point about the fire, good segue. So we'll go right to Jason Greene. If I see he's muted and camera's off. So is he still with us, Jason?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Jones and Beach must have our turn radius for the ladder truck, right?
I'll let Jonathan unmute yourself, Jonathan.
Oh yeah, I guess I am. Yes, I will. We do have the radius, and we can do a turning template plan.
Okay. That'll work for us. Is it a sprinkler building?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and there's a hydrant in the area?
Yeah, there's a hydrant on McKay Drive in front of the site. Where is it here? It's left of Aroma Joe's. It's sort of in the middle of the left-hand side of the building, about a third of the way from the left-hand side of the building.
Okay.
In McKay Drive.
Okay. So is that within?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it was something like 300 feet to get around to the front walls.
All right. So interior sprinkler room, interior utility access. There's going to be a truss roof access that can fit a firefighter through it, right? I mean, those are really all the things that we would care about.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty easy building for us.
Okay. A Knox box?
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's required with the fire alarm system. So in this one.
Okay. All right. Let's see, Doug.
Yeah, hi. Just one question probably for Jonathan. Are you going to do the impact fee for sewer and water? Are you familiar with that, John?
The short answer is it'll be Mike Garapi, it'll be Tuck Realty, and the longer answer is I wonder if they paid it already when they got the previous site plan approved, but that's Mike's question.
I don't believe so.
I think we already paid that twice, Doug. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We can find out.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just make sure that it's based on the New Hampshire septic designs, and it's 80% of that because it is town water and sewer. So.
Yeah, I know we had some notes on the previous plan approval, John, right? About the calculations.
Yep.
So I don't know if we've updated those. And those are typically fees collected at CO or building permit.
Pardon me?
Are those typical fees collected at CO or at the building permit phase, Doug?
Actually, you can request deferment until CO. It's typically done along with the building permit, but if you wanted to do a deferment to wait until the CO is issued or prior to, that's fine as well. I would just need a letter requesting that, Mike.
Great. Perfect. Sounds good. We'll make sure we update the plan notes if necessary to reflect those fees.
Okay.
Doug, if I can jump in real quick, the preliminary application to connect to water sewer drainage, we didn't get an updated one of those for this use. So with that letter that you're doing to request it, make sure you send in the updated because that will outline what the fees are based on your flows.
Perfect.
And then just a note, I forgot one thing about the signage. You propose a monument sign on the plans in addition to the monument sign that's existing. But planning board doesn't really get into that detail. That's going to need to be separately approved through the permitting process through the building inspector. So putting it on a plan showing the detail doesn't infer any type of approval of it. So work with Doug Eastman, the building inspector, in their department on getting that freestanding sign approved.
Doug had said he would issue a flashing neon.
I'll give you a flashing neon on top of that hat. Yeah, we can work. We'll deal with that, Mike.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Okay. So any questions, any further last comments from staff? Anybody have anything to add based on the discussion?
Go
ahead, Allison.
Just two other comments I had forgotten. On the lighting plan, the flagpole light isn't shown. I don't know if that has any effect on the overall lighting scheme or not. I mean, I think it's just a spotlight for the flagpole. Just thought I'd bring that up. And then on the landscape plan, I know you said the landscape plan wasn't finished and another one's coming. Just a question I had on it though is there's 3 trees shown by the retaining wall, and I can't tell if the intent is for them to be at the bottom of the retaining wall or if they'll be like along the top of the retaining wall. So that was just a question I had.
All right, I'll check those out. And I had one question for Jen about the sidewalk on McKay Drive, whether it needs to have those ADA truncated domes and all that stuff. It's not a public sidewalk, it's a private sidewalk. So I wondered if we just do normal tip down ramps or if we need all the ADA stuff.
You don't need ADA detectable warning panels when you're crossing a driveway. So you don't need those there. That was going to be one of my comments in the letter, is that you can eliminate those unless you felt it necessary. But I think it gets confusing for people that rely on them because it indicates that they're going out into a roadway and they're not.
Yes. Okay. When do you think we're going to get the letters from Underwood and from Public Works? I mean, Dave, that's probably your next thing, is the timing to get this resubmitted back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, I'd probably give them to the end of next week. I would ask that everyone get their comments. I mean, usually it'd be a little bit sooner, but the planning board is not, I don't know when it'll go before the planning board at this point. But I think we have time to try to shoot for the end of next week to get out the TRC comment letter. I mean, looking at it, just to describe what the planning board is they have 2 applications right now. They had a controversial subdivision that several abutters are, interested in. That was on May 14th. We have a 224 apartment complex and 50,000 square feet of commercial going tonight. And the planning board was pretty adamant when they wanted to start up virtual meetings, because they don't have to. They don't even have to hold meetings right now, but we encourage them. They were willing to do that. I thank them for that commitment, and they're starting up on their regular schedule, but they didn't want to take too many applications at once. So we got 2 pretty big applications right now on the agenda. That yield plan application was tabled till June 11th. And then we have 9 or 7 others, maybe 8 now, maybe this is the 8th, in the queue. So I can't tell you when, but I think I told Mike it's going to be hopefully in a July planning board agenda.
Well, we'll make sure that we're ready with addressing all your comments well before then, so that we're at least ready for when the planning board is.
Yeah, and I sympathize with, the thing. It's just where we are with it. And, we're working, we're going to work as diligently as possible. I think there's enough after these first kind of 2, like the food and the snake, if you will. After these 2 come out, there's a couple of, minor subdivisions, a couple of additions, a little bit less lifting, less complicated projects. So hopefully once that kind of goes, these big projects get taken care of, we'll be able to move through the outstanding ones. But realistic, it's going to be a July agenda at best. I hope to be on.
So do you want me to resubmit on June 23, just for the sake of a date?
Sure, that'll, because then we'll get June 5th, we'll get out the TRC letter. That will give you a couple of, 2.5 weeks or so to revise the plans, and then if needed, and submit them. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Other questions? The applicant have any questions of us?
Will we already have the landscape plan? Has that been submitted or it's coming?
Jeff Highland sent it to me yesterday. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on, I mean, it's tough to look at on my phone, but he sent it to me yesterday. I can forward that to you now.
That'd be appreciated. I mean, I had a couple landscape plan comments, but I withheld them because I was like, well, let's just wait for the updated plan and comment on that.
Okay.
Yep, we'll send it over today.
Okay. So anything else? No?
I'm looking forward to working with Doug Eastman again on another building project in Exeter. Doug, you lucky guy. It's Matt.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. How are you? Nice to hear from you, Matt. Good.
Likewise. Nice to hear you as well.
Thank you.
Now, this has been a really smooth process overall, so I appreciate everyone's, ability to make that happen, because it's not the thing I'm finding in most other municipalities, so it's nice to see.
Good.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
All right, so I guess I'd look to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Jen. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Actually, we do roll call, but all right. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you all very much.